So good afternoon and welcome. First of all, like Brad said, our RPIW is number 12, looking at decreasing lead time between the time the X-ray is ordered in the emergency department at the general hospital to the time the X-ray is available to be viewed. What we have up here is our standard work combination sheet and the list of players who are going to be presenting at a TAC time of 20 minutes. This is our wonderful team that we pulled together. They will each be coming up and telling you our story through this journey. This is our workshop project form. We had two sponsors in a sense. We had Sue Neville and Jan Bessie stood in too when that wasn't possible. Our business owners were Bonnie and Linnea from the Emerge department. And, pardon me? Oh, the title, yes, I did that already. So, okay, so we can move on, thank you. I'm gonna hand it over to Lori for a second here.
Good afternoon, I'm Lori Carlson, the sub-team lead for RPIW number 12. I've got before you the target progress report. The main targets that we were looking at was a space reduction of 50%. We were also looking at a reduction of inventory of patients in the radiology hallway. We were also looking at a reduction of the number of sheets of paper in the process. One of our biggest measures was to reduce our lead time, which started at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 18 seconds, down to a target of 33 minutes and 39 seconds. Our productivity gain, we're looking at an improvement from 2.07 to a total of 3.035. Our cycle time, we were looking at a 50% improvement from 40 minutes down to 20 minutes. In terms of our TAC time now, our RPIW was looking at X-rays ordered in the emergency department only. So when you look at the emergency department, the radiology does about 50 X-rays a day for the emergency. So if the volume is about 50, then we'd have to have an emergency patient leaving radiology every 28 minutes and 52 seconds. When we look at the total volume of the department, they do about 163 X-rays per day in the department. They would have to see a patient leaving their department every 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
So what you see in front of you now is our current state map before we implemented any changes. And I know it's hard to read, so I'll just walk you through what the process is here. At the top is the process of information flow, and this is a combination of paper and electronic information that has to be passed on for this X-ray to be done. In the bottom in the orange is the patient flow, and that's when the patient leaves the emergency department, goes to radiology, and comes back. Noting here that on average when we looked at the lead time, that is the total amount of time from when a patient X-ray was requested to the time that the X-ray was available to be read in the emergency department on the computers, was 67 minutes. So there was a long period of time there that we needed to cover. Basically what happens here is that the unit clerk gets the order, they type it into the computer, into Innovation and SCM. That pops up as a printout in the radiology department. The rad tech picks that up, makes sure the information's right, enters it into their computer, it becomes an order. They put the paper over, a porter picks up that paper, gets the patient, brings the patient back, X-ray's done. Another piece of paper goes around, tells the porter the patient's done, pick up that paper, get the patient, and bring the patient back. When we look at this process and we look at some of the data that helped us figure out what our TAC times were, you can see that it's the X-ray department is a 24/7 production here, and as we already mentioned, there's 50 people on average from the emergency department getting their X-rays, and on top of that, there's another 100 to 110 or so a day coming from inpatient units. When we looked at the calculations for getting the patient there and back again, and all the work that's done, we noticed that the value add for the patient is only 8% of that process, so the rest of it is waste or muda according to a patient's point of view. This is our future state map that we came up with all of our Kaizen bursts and ideas. We wanted to get rid of those waits and those waits. Basically what we were asking to occur here is to have no waits for the patient. Once they get picked up, a lot of times they're left in a hallway, and that'll be explained later, but we wanted to eliminate that. We wanted the patient to go down, get their x-ray, and come back. And in doing that, we had a lead time of about 5 minutes and 18 seconds. If we achieve this perfect utopia state, then our lead time should only be 5 minutes and 18 seconds, but there's other work that goes on there. The last little bit of information here is showing you this is the volumes of x-ray requests that were coming in a typical day. We did this on a number of different days, and we saw the same trend. You can see it starts at about 5 in the morning, some batching, and that is from the inpatient units. All of a sudden, they get a whole bunch of requests for x-rays coming down, and then everybody's trying to catch up to get those people through, and then it tapers off in the afternoon, and then we do the same thing every day, up and down, up and down. So we're going to try to level that load.
Hello, my name is Mike Prokopets. I'm an X-ray tech at the General Hospital. So I'm just going to kind of explain a spaghetti diagram of the patient flow through the emergency department to the X-ray department. So basically what happened was the emergency would put in a requisition, it would get to the X-ray department, the X-ray tech would order it, they would give it to a porter, it would go all the way back to the emergency department, find that patient, bring them back to the emergency or X-ray department. They would wait outside in the hallway. That rec would go back into the back where the tech area was. When a tech was available, they grabbed that rec, went and did the patient. Then the patient returned back to the hallway. Another rec was put out, and they waited again for another porter to get them back to the emergency department. So this is just a time observation form that just kind of iterates that. This is just one example of how long it took, and it was about 44 minutes and 40 seconds. And we kind of figure the average is somewhere in there between 40 and 60 minutes.
Hi, I'm Larry Olson. I'm with the Cyber South region. I'm a participant in this RPIW. I'm here to talk about the standard work combination sheet. As you can see, there's 2 double lines there that indicate the patient waiting 62 minutes of the 67-minute process. The last 20 minutes is unattended, which is a patient safety issue. So this is room for improvement. This is our percent load chart that shows that if we took the wait out, we'd be meeting our TAC time of 28.5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Eileen Moore, and I served as a patient representative this week. We had 32 sheet ideas, and it's been a very exciting week to see what a few small changes can do to make a huge improvement, and putting the patient first, make sure the patient is safe and that the patient doesn't have a waiting time. Now, on the drawing on the left here, it shows you how the porter is could be in the ward, in the outpatient waiting, or in emergency. And when he's needed, he may be someplace else. So if a porter is assigned to emergency only, he's available at all times, and no patients are ever left waiting because he's right there. On the second diagram here, the patient is waiting in the hallway to be picked up to take to X-ray. In the second diagram, he has been placed into the room there. The porter is waiting for him, and when he is done, he is wheeled back into where he came from. Now, in the DI core, you see people standing anxious to get to work, and in the second one, there's a flow coordinator that tells them where to go and what to do, and this certainly makes it very well organized, and there's a lot of harmony in the area.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Rogalski, and I'm a unit clerk in the emergency department. I am going to talk about the standard work forms, and we created 6 standard work forms. We created one for the unit clerk, portering, the rad tech, clinical engineering, nursing, and predictive maintenance. The one I'm going to show is for the porter, and the only major changes with the porter was that the porter stays with the patient at all times. The patient is never left alone, and that took about 4 minutes. The next sheet I'm going to show is the skills checklist sheet for each department, and once they completed the standard form, they get checked off and notified that they got it corrected. And just a little side note, when I was in the Gamba yesterday, the emerge doctor was quite happy how the radiology took less time than ever. He went into the room and he said, okay, now I got to wait for the x-ray and blah, blah, blah. And the nurse actually said, nope, it's done already, it's here, we're good to go. So that improved it.
Hi, I'm Patty LeBlanc. I participated as a patient in this RPIW. When we did our waste walk, we identified many areas of waste that could be improved upon during the process. We focused on two of those, one being the time on hand where the patient was waiting either in emergency or the radiology department to have that test done. We had radiology techs waiting for their patients to arrive so they could get their work done, and porters also waiting. The second area was on the inventory, where that patient was left unattended in a hallway and unable to call for assistance when they required it. For me, being a patient, that was a huge element of concern. I didn't want to be left alone in a hallway where I couldn't gain assistance if I needed. When we did our 5S, oh, sorry, did I miss? Oh, the post, sorry. Yes, the improvements we did make were that patient and radiology techs and porters didn't have that long waiting time. And again, the patient didn't have to wait unattended and unassisted at any time. So we were able to do the pre-5S, indicating that the computer area in the radiology department was the area we focused on. The computer terminal and all the devices that were connected were sort of scattered throughout in a very congested area. There was the cart in the front of that area that contained many different things and was cluttered. We had the recycle area and the garbage, and it made for the flow of traffic of the staff in that area very, very congested and a lot to go around. So our pre-5S evaluation score was 1.17. Post-5S, we moved that computer terminal to a larger area where all those devices could be linked up consecutively and easily accessed. We were able to remove that cart entirely and redistribute all the non-essential items that might have been there, getting rid of the recycle and garbage, creating a larger pathway and a clear access for those staff, and also tidy up that board that was behind them. So post 5S, our evaluation score then was 2.3.
Hi there, I'm Daryl Gottslig from Clinical Engineering. I was a participant in this study. I'm going to explain the spaghetti diagram of the patient/porter from emerge to the radiology department. And this is post-Kaizen, and very early on in studying the pre-Kaizen, we realized that the biggest waste time value was in parking the patients in the radiology department. It varied from 40 to 60 minutes. So that was our focus. So to improve that, we dedicated a rad tech to a rad room, which directly handed off the requisition to a porter, and that porter stayed with the patient. So, and then they stayed with the patient in the radiology area till the patient images were completed, and then directly took the patient back. So looking at our earlier numbers, we went from a 67-minute lead time to a 16.4.
Hi, I'm post-Kaizen Larry, or Lean Larry. I know you can't tell, the data doesn't lie. And you can see here the data doesn't lie. We increased or decreased our lead time to 16 minutes and 40 seconds. So we reduced the wait from 62 minutes to 5. And the patient was never left unattended. So it was a good process that we changed. And as you can see here, our percent load chart doesn't really change. It just says when you take the waste out, we should be able to meet our TAC time, and actually we can probably improve that TAC time.
Hello, I'm Lori Carlson again. I'm going to talk to you a bit about the leftover items on our newspaper. We did a lot of work this week and developed a lot of standard work, and unfortunately we didn't get as far as we wanted to. So there is 6 pieces of standard work with the varying areas needing to do training of their staff. Rad techs, portering, even preparation of the patient on the actual units so that they're ready to be x-rayed when they get down to the department, and predictive maintenance on the x-ray materials or equipment as well. The people in the area started 5S'ing and they want to continue 5S. They weren't happy with their score, so they'd like to see that reach 3. I think the last thing I'd like to say is, given the gains that we've had, we'd really like to see the new process implemented in the area with the flow coordinator. So looking at our final target progress sheet, we're quite happy with this. We actually brought our space down to 0, which is 100% improvement. We actually got rid of the cart that was in the hallway that Patty talked to you about. More importantly, we reduced our inventory to no patients in the radiology hallway for 100% improvement there, and that's an important safety aspect as well. We reduced the number of sheets of paper in the process. This is quite important as well. We only reduced it by 1, but what happens now is the porter actually hands the order and the patient over to the rad tech in a warm handover, as opposed to putting a form in a box and leaving a patient in a hallway. So that's quite important as well. We did reduce our lead time from an hour down to 16 minutes and 40 seconds. So we can, Bonnie and her staff can move people through that department. Our productivity gain, we didn't do so well there. We actually saw a reduction of 35%. Again, the way these are calculated, we actually had lower volume on the week that we were actually on the Genba, so we didn't see as many x-rays as the department usually does. Cycle time, we reduced that to 6 minutes, and essentially that is the elimination of the waits, and that's for a reduction of 85%.
So this is our workshop summary for our RPIW. We created standard work, as you've already heard, for all the areas involved in getting a patient from the x-ray room and the images back there. We eliminated the waiting in the hallway, which was a huge safety concern. And it's nice to see no one sitting in the hallway. They actually get moved right into the x-ray and back out again, because that x-ray process takes between about 3 to 5 minutes on average. We reduced the clutter in the 5S, so we did that. The patient concerns we already mentioned. That's the big point for us that we thought was a great opportunity. And an additional result was we were getting people talking again, and not that they weren't talking, but it's amazing when you do an RPIW that you start getting different departments and units actually speaking together again about what's the issue for them and what's the issue for other people, and it started flowing really well. So that was really nice to see. I'm going to tell you a couple other things that aren't on these sheets, but one was we had a young boy about 6 years old yesterday. He came in with a severely broken wrist, and he was in a lot of pain, and he was in the emergency room, and the doctor and the nurse were off to the side, and the nurse was saying, we need to give this patient something to deal with the pain. He's in a lot of pain, and the doctor said, I need to get some results back before I do anything. While they were having that conversation, the patient was already being wheeled out, and he came back within 10 minutes, and then they could deal with it because they were getting the images back already. They didn't have to wait 60 minutes for a child who was in pain to get their pain medication. So that was a great win. The other thing I want you to think about too is if we're knocking off 50 minutes for each patient that gets an x-ray coming from the emergency department, and there's 50 of them a day, that's saving 2,550 minutes. If you calculate that out for a year, that's actually 646 days not wasted for patients waiting for service in our health region. So that's a fantastic thing to see. So finally, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who was involved in our RPIW. Without all these people, we couldn't make this happen. All the staff and the managers and Bonnie and radiology, the emergency department, and Linnea, who was a great help to us there. IT was helpful in helping us do what we needed to do to get our jobs done, as was clinical engineering and facilities management. Portering is key to patient flow. We should have had them actually as an owner on this, and I think they need to be included on any future RPIWs that have flow process, because they are integral to that getting done. Facilities management, and finally, I'd like to thank my team. They did a great job. I'm only here because they did a great job, and I'm just telling you what they did. And specifically, Eileen Moore and Patty LeBlanc, our patients, thank you so much for being part of this. You remind us of why we're doing it and the patient perspective, and we really appreciate that. So, thank you.